Hello everyone, my name is Jasper Holland and welcome to my Project 1 presentation submission for Design Psychology. In this observational case study, we will be conducting an in-depth investigation into the spatial and psychological qualities of Woolcock Park, an environmental haven located in the heart of Red Hill, nestled in the northeast suburbs of the city. Following an analysis of the site's initial features, the park is easily accessible by car, push bike, or on foot, making it a highly accessible public hub. The park features a plethora of family-friendly spaces such as a playground, communal barbecue zone and basketball court, all surrounded by a vast expanse of grass shaded by a scattering of large trees. With numerous pathways running through the site, users are encouraged to experience all that the park has to offer, with natural daylighting and cool breezes running throughout the space at consistent hours throughout the day. In order to ensure that a wide variety of data could be collected, each analysis session was conducted on a different day of the week and at a different time of day, as seen by the table presented. It is also additional to note that I remained an anonymous observer throughout all of these sessions, as to not disrupt any typical behaviours or activities taking place in the park. Taking further consideration into the site's accessibility, it was noted that the two main entrances to the space were from the west of Hawthorn Terrace or the eastern end of the Iftikhar Creek bike path. As demonstrated, the opposing locations of the park's primary entrance points gives users a choice to seamlessly pass through the area in quick transit, or to stay and enjoy the pleasantries on offer within the organic environment. Now taking a look at some of the physical traces within the site, the western entrance featured a somewhat secondary path skirting through the trees before jumping back onto the main path closer to the central of the park. Utilising Zeisel's framework to observe physical traces, many parkgoers opted for the secondary path, despite there not actually being a definitive design for one. Applying Gibson's theory of affordance to this instance, the flattened grass and contrasting coloration of brown to the surrounding green would allow users to perceive this environmental cue as a secondary pathway. Additionally, parkgoers may also use their visual intuition to determine that the perceived secondary path is a quicker route than the designated primary walkway, hence the walking over the grass, thus further amplifying the environmental cues being created on the ground. Another instance in which Gibson's insight into the theory of affordances applies can be seen through a consistent line of trees running along the southeast wing of the park. The uniformity of the tree formation and their relatively comparative height to users causes parkgoers to distinguish the provided environmental cues as a boundary line, giving further definition and form to the shape of the site. Another site appraisal can be seen in the form of the Brunswick lens model. Through the observable environmental cues listed above, this causes users to experience feelings of tranquility, warmth, refreshment, and serenity, causing the overall perceived environment to be deduced as beautiful. Furthermore, the medium emotional load induced by the site can be attributed to the high levels of pleasure and mid to low levels of arousal. As seen in image 1, the vibrant colours, spatial vastness, and soft lighting of the park is heavily relaxing to the parkgoer's eye. Also, the familiarity of the surrounding nature and organic tree forms leaves little novelty or surprises to be had within this space, with slight arousal caused by the occasional sporadic movement and laughter of children in the playground. On a more abstract site analysis, it is clear that Woolcock Park correlates heavily with Franz's model for salutogenic design. The site's organic motifs, natural daylighting, and cross-ventilation are all strongly supportive features to this claim, invoking feelings of replenishment, connectivity, reduced stress, and increased well-being. Not only this, the site also draws significant parallels to the three primary principles of salutogenesis, as highlighted by Franz. Pathways through the site are made clear and distinct. The wide variety of interactive spaces within encourage user stimulation, and the abundance of greenery forms a strong bond between people and place, as is mentioned on the following slide. Following a primary site appraisal of Woolcock Park, a number of specific case studies were carefully observed and analysed. Firstly, during the Sunday morning session, a Tai Chi exercise group arrived to occupy the central open park space. However, this created spatial crowding, causing parents who were previously watching their children in close proximity to relocate. Psychosocial analysis suggests that the imposition of the larger central Tai Chi group created an amplified social defense boundary around their occupied space. This caused parents to perceive this as an invasion of personal boundaries, disrupting the spatial cognition of the park and moving to a different location. With all available park benches under direct shade in already cold and windy conditions, relocating to any of these areas would cause a negative sensory overload. To avoid this, parents moved to the nearest available patch of sun before continuing to informally survey their kids in the playground. Next, amidst the Wednesday morning observations, a young man was exercising under a tree, with the girl and her dog playing beneath the next tree across. It was clear that the perceived personal boundaries of both parties was defined by the circular shading created by each of their respective trees, each boundary approximately 4 meters in diameter. However, after a few minutes the dog approached the man. Whilst initially perceived as a breaching of spatial boundaries, the girl eventually proceeded to walk across and initiate friendly conversation, whilst patting the dog and smiling to one another. External research would suggest that the inclusion of an animal in scenarios such as this acts as a social catalyst, speeding up the attraction between the two, therefore shortening the time by which their social and personal barriers decrease in size. The accuracy of this claim can be supported by the following scene, as the man and woman would most likely not have engaged with one another if not for the presence of the dog. Thirdly, during the Friday afternoon session, a small group of kids were playing in the playground. From this, there were 2 notable points of informal surveillance taking place. First, from point A, with a small group of parents gathered around the socio-pedal barbecue setting, and secondly, from point B, with an elderly woman watching her granddaughter from the privacy of a socio-fugal park bench. Analyzing the spatial cognition of the area, it is clear that the variety of the seating was strategically placed to accommodate for both introverts and extroverted users, in either isolated and/or group settings. The final notable case observation was noted as a father and son rode their bikes through the park from east to west. The two came to a fork in the track. While the dad continued on straight, the young boy took the winding circular path around. Applying Gibson's theory of affordances, the secondary path possessed a lighter, more reflective color with a pebbled texture, a combination of environmental cues which can be perceived to indicate a pathway of activity and discovery. Additionally, the circular, flowing motif of the pathway's overall shape can be viewed as an effective form of biophilic design. Also, the close proximity of the path to the surrounding trees creates an environmentally immersive experience for all those who choose to travel along it. Through Franz's analysis of salutogenic theory, the heavy exposure to nature substantially strengthens the user's spatial coherence of the area by boosting their comprehensibility and navigation around the park, and providing a meaningfully stronger connection to the surrounding nature. After a multitude of useful observations were noted and analysed, I formulated a couple of simplistic yet effective design features which I believe would add to the existing nature of the park's spatial environment. First of all, the strategic integration of fairy lights throughout the park trees would add vibrance and warmth to the space during the evening and early nighttime hours. As a result, this would help to boost the sensory stimulation evoked when experiencing and enjoying the park space, through increased arousal, high levels of novelty and complexity of the surrounding setting. Furthermore, the implementation of several privacy/study pods scattered throughout the site footprint would add further depth to the functional repertoire of the park. The organic forms provided would further complement the existing biophilic design features, with soft wooden texturing and low lighting also adding to the pleasant emotional load of the park's relaxing spaces. Finally, by providing a definitive node for users to either relax or focus, this would further clarify the spatial cognition of the park as a whole, helping to unify the space as one connected architectural entity. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.